I am here to talk about mutual aid and racism in education and a personal story. It's not business. I don't think Faith will care, though, because it does talk about what it means to put all of this stuff into action in real life. Okay. I live in St. Louis. We are in Missouri, a red state. I've written about this on my personal newsletter called Smashing Patriarchy. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe. You can read about there. It's called Racism in St. Louis Schools. Our racism runs deep. I know racism in America runs deep, obviously. In St. Louis, we have a unique position because we were a slaveholding state, a state where slavery was legal, yet we're not considered part of the South. People often don't know that Missouri was a state where slavery was legal because they don't think of it as part of the South, but in fact it was. We are also positioned in St. Louis directly across a river from a free state, Illinois, where slavery was not allowed. So many people in St. Louis were maybe more politically aligned with Illinois. Others were not. There were people in St. Louis who would be on the streets who were slaves mingling right alongside free Black folks because of this unique positionality. St. Louis also has a very interesting history because we are the site of many important and historic lawsuits all the way up to the Supreme Court level that were about trying to deny Black people rights. So not historic in a good way, but things like the Dred Scott decision trying to say, and so very specifically around education, saying that, no, you're not allowed an equal education if you are Black or if you are a slave, if you are enslaved. So we have a very unique history here. And most importantly, a lot of that history around the legislation is about where people could live. So even after slavery was abolished, in principle, not always exactly in practice, but anyway, there were St. Louisans fought very hard for segregation, fought very hard for a very long time, 100 years, to say, and continue to in many ways, now just and not in the legal ways, to keep Blacks from being able to live in areas where whites lived. And that rings true today. St. Louis is among the most segregated cities you will experience. Our schools are almost entirely all white or all Black to a large degree. I happen to live in this very small sliver that's right along the line of where the area is almost entirely Black and where the area is almost entirely white. And right along that area is a beautifully diverse part of St. Louis. And that's always been the case. It's just that line has always been moving south over time. So I live in that line intentionally, by the way, because I want to, if I have to, and for now I have to, live in this godforsaken state. I want to live in a place where my child has an experience I didn't. I grew up in an all-white school. I think we had, like 3 Black kids in our school. That's very common here in St. Louis. I wanted my child to have a different experience. I wanted him to be in a very diverse, truly diverse space where he got to understand that we are all humans. We are, that his friends can look different and he can advocate for them. And all of that is proving true. And that's amazing. These kids don't yet all have, because these are elementary kids, don't all yet have their parents' biases. Some do, but not all. And so there is a lot of love in that building amongst the kids, and it's amazing to see. My kid learned about hot Cheetos and Takis from his Black friends. He learned about seaweed cakes from his Asian friends. Like, he is having experiences that I never had, and it's amazing. That said, my school district, because of its unique positioning, there are 4 high schools, 4 regions in our very large school district, and ours is the only one that is majority minority. All the others are by far majority white. We have 2 to 3 times the number of Black students specifically in our area of any other area. There are other areas do have some diversity, but when it comes to Black students in particular, we have 2 to 3 times the number of Black students. And that's important because while diversity looks like all sorts of things, and that is not to in any way lessen the oppression of Asian folks or Latino folks or anything else, Given St. Louis's very particular history around race and history with slavery and denial of Black people in particular, abilities to get educated and have a place to live, our number of Black students is very important in what's happening right now in my area. We have been fighting, many of the white parents in my school in particular have been fighting for a while, at one time trying to work with our principal, to have our resourcing better reflect our student body. Our resourcing in the north area of our school district, where we have this majority minority population, is subpar. And the results reflect that. Our test scores in our region are lower than any other of the regions. Our graduation rate is lower than any other region. And it also reflects in the ratings of our schools, but our teaching staff is rated lower. We have higher turnover of teachers. We have less STEM offerings. Our students have to get on buses to go to other schools in the district to even receive STEM education. It's atrocious and horrible. Our particular school is deeply overcrowded. We have a large transient population, meaning students, many of them are people who are using other people's addresses or finding ways. We also have the McKinney-Vento, if you don't know, it allows people to be bussed in from other areas. We have a very large population of students who don't necessarily live here full time, or are very new to the district and often have additional needs because of their history of maybe moving around and things like that. Our goal is not to change anything about the kids in our school. We love, and I love, the kids in our school. That is not what we want to see change. What we want to see change is our district care about the Black and brown students in our school. We want to see that they understand what equity means and not equality. They claim it as a value. They're not putting it into practice. We want to see that they care about our students. So we've been fighting for a while. And then almost a month ago, there was the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back, which was in our school, a very trusted, perhaps the most important and trusted leader in our school, harmed a Black child. A white male harmed a 10-year-old Black boy. I can't say a lot more because I don't want to get in trouble until all of the facts are out there for people to see, because there is video and audio of the incident that will eventually come forward. But for now, I will say this child was harmed, traumatized. Also, 4 classrooms of 9 and 10-year-olds, so about 80 kids, witnessed it and were also traumatized, not to the same degree by any stretch. They were also traumatized. And in those classrooms, 30% of those kids were Black students who saw what a white educator they trusted was doing to a Black child that looked like them. The message is clear. There were adults who did nothing to stop what happened. That sends a message to the kids. And from then, there is a district that is doing all it can to make this go away. They allowed this person to take basically a month's vacation. They allowed him to resign a month ahead of a scheduled retirement. So basically, he just, got a little extra time off. That was his accountability. His boss, who knew of a previous incident earlier in this same year and allowed him to return after another 1-week vacation, 1 week of time off, is also culpable and not. There's no accountability. They won't answer any of our questions about it. I understand they're claiming it's a personnel issue and an ongoing investigation, but we want to know how we can trust that our kids are safe. I know from talking to the Black parents in the school, their concerns are different than the white parents in the school. I've been talking to both, and I can see the clear differences. The white parents, while I do believe in their hearts care about diversity, they do want the school to remain diverse. Their focus is very much on how do we adjust the equity so that our kids receive more resourcing. The Black parents want to understand, what's the accountability here? How do I know my kid can be safe ever again in this building? Those are 2 very different concerns. And for anyone who believes that that isn't because of a difference in privilege, there's work to be done. There's work to be done. It's been made clear to me that I am making this too much about race. I need to soften my edges. I need to stop talking about these things so much. I could be putting my kid at risk of retaliation from the district. All of it is to make sure that This mom gets no support. And that's what I'm here to talk about, is the mom and the child at the center of this. Because I have a mutual aid request, because my community has failed this mom. We are failing her left and right. The district has failed her. Not only have they failed her, they are actively trying to, I say, harm her. By saying that there's no accountability and no justice, that is continuing the harm and the trauma. So I believe the district is continuing to actively try to harm this mother and child. Our school community is deeply disappointing me and should be ashamed, because we are not supporting her. There's no showing up. It is, how do we move on from this? How do we get over this? When instead we should be out there up in arms, demanding accountability. But we're not. It's not happening. And when anyone tries to, they're ostracized. And they're told they need to, tone it down. And let's not make it all about that. And this isn't all about race. And there's bigger issues here. But this is the issue. And here is why. For anyone who doesn't understand it, I want to educate you on why this incident, and this is just one incident, but we as people with privilege, listen up, okay? These issues matter. These isolated incidents, this thing that's not part of the bigger thing, it matters because it is the thing. In a top-down approach, a system is a top-down approach. It's also why I don't like patriarchal systems. They are top-down. I want matriarchal systems, which are circular. But we live inside of top-down systems. When a top-down system, whether that is police, or in this case, education, which, by the way, those are nearly synonymous. If you learn much about our education system, it is also very much a carceral system and rooted in a lot of the same things as policing, which, if you don't know, is also about maintaining, at one time, slavery, and certainly now maintaining oppression. A top-down system that makes it clear that Black and brown, but most especially Black students, matter less. And it's made that clear by how it's resourcing, how it's providing and allocating resources, the types of resources that are provided, and the quality of the education. When the top-down approach is, we care less about the Black kids in our buildings, and we've made that clear by how we are financing these buildings and how the resources that we're giving to these students, the space that we're giving to these students. We are bursting at the seams in my school. Schools that have more white students, or less Black students, I should say, are not experiencing similar things and actually have been given more. So when we say we don't care about Black kids, that's the message. And it's a very clear message, and it's not pretend, it's real. When we say that, what do we think is the natural outcome of that? The downstream effects of that? Of course, teachers think it's okay that when a Black student says, another student just used a racial slur, and the teacher's response is, don't sit by that student. That happened in the school to the same child. Of course, that's what's going to happen. When my child's teacher, who I love and was open to learning, so I want to be clear about that, but a white teacher who is teaching 35% of her kids who are Black, and also, very importantly, all the white kids who are learning this, is using the language slaves and slaveholders or slave owners instead of enslaved and enslavers as the curriculum demands, but is bringing her own biases into the classroom. What do we think that's teaching? And then ultimately, where it leads us is to, what would make those white educators think that they can't harm Black and brown children, most especially the Black children? What would make them think they can't? When top down at every part of this river, this stream, it has been made clear the Black kids are not valued. What do we think is the natural outcome? This incident is not an isolated incident, and it is not separate from the bigger battle to say there are disparities in the school system that need to be changed. This incident shows us why it's so important that those disparities change. Because until they do, truly, and at a big level, until equity, and not just equality, but equity is present, incidents like these will continue to happen. Because white folks in that school are getting and not just white folks, everyone in that building is getting the message that Black children in those buildings have less value. And this mom and this child are experiencing that acutely. Because not only was it made clear that his body had held less value, and that her needs aren't going to be met, accountability and justice are not going to happen, and that is going to be fought. I mean, we're still working on it, okay? There's still things happening, but that the district doesn't care. And then to have the community turn its back on her and try to make it seem like this incident is different and separate from the bigger issues. That her pain, his pain, and her pain, because as a mother, I know that pain. And if this were my child, make no mistake, this would have been a different result. If that were my child, first of all, it wouldn't have happened. Would have never happened. I know that in my heart of hearts, in my bones, this would have never happened to him. I also know in my bones, if it had happened to him, the community would not have turned its back on me or on my child. And yet here we are. And I'm embarrassed. I'm obviously angry, disappointed. People I thought I trusted, people I thought cared in a way that I am now seeing their care looks different. I'm hurt. And this is not about my hurt. It's not about me. This is about her. Because I'm hurt for her. I'm disgusted for her. I'm embarrassed for her. This shouldn't be happening. So when our communities fail us, when my local community has failed this woman, I want to model what it looks like. Then what do we do? What do we do? Because this happens to so many of us in so many ways. And those of us with privilege, whether that is white privilege or class privilege or other privileges that allow us to sit and see these things happen and know in our own bones that they aren't going to happen to us, not going to happen to our child, or it's far less likely, or that if it were to happen, we don't think that the community would turn on us. When we have that kind of privilege, it's our responsibility to witness and to care. And even if it's not in our community, to say, I see this and I know Becky. Even if I don't know this woman, I know Becky. Or if I don't know Becky, I know this work that Feminist Founders has done. And I can show that there is community that cares. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to raise $1,750 for this mother to pay her rent this month. To take one thing off of her very overflowing plate. To say people care. Because she is not feeling much care. She's not feeling much love and support right now. And I'm mad about that. And one way that I can try to help is use a platform to, one, I've been sharing the story. I'm making my district mad. My superintendent knows my name and hates me. My son's superintendent knows my name and it's pretty clear she doesn't like me. There are board members who it's very clear they don't like me. There are community members inside my school who've made it clear that they don't like me. There are administrators that make it clear they don't like me. And yet I will still continue to show up and not soften my edges and not be quiet. So I'm doing the things I can. But another thing that feels like a concrete thing I can do, a tangible, meaningful thing I can do is say, can we collectively take rent off of her plate this month to give her a little spaciousness to grieve? There's a lot of grief happening. And she doesn't have space to grieve because she is very worried about money. She's a civil servant. She's had to take a lot of time off to deal with meetings with educators, police, attorneys, all the things to try and advocate for her child with very little to no support. So if you are able to contribute, I'm trying to find the link real quick. So sorry. And I'm glad you can hear me this time. And I swear I'm almost done. I just don't know what else to do, honestly, at this point. So that's why I'm here. And I appreciate if you're watching. Where am I? Here we are. Here is the information, how you can contribute. We're $400 away. We have raised $1,350 towards the $1,750 goal of paying her rent. I could stop now, but I really want to cross that threshold and get to that last $400. And thank you to one of you on here right now who helped this morning bridge that gap by another 100. So got us down to only 400 away. I could quit, but I don't want to. I want to be able to do this one thing. I want to do this one thing with you. I want us to do this one thing. I want her to show community doing this one thing. Venmo at Becky-Edwards-73. The last four of the phone number is 5554. At Becky-Edwards. I know I'm Becky Mollenkamp. My married name is Edwards. I don't share that much. At Becky-Edwards-73. Last four is 5554. Or you can PayPal Becky at BeckyMollenkamp.com. Please choose friends and family so we avoid charges. I messed that up the last time I did a mutual aid and had to eat a lot of costs, which is fine, but I'd rather not. I'd rather not have PayPal get that money. I'd rather it go directly to this mother. So please, if you're able, and if you want to in the note, you can put mutual aid. Everything that's coming in is going to her, but if you want to put that note in there, that's fine. That way I'm sure to see. But right now I'm not getting money for anything else. So it's all going there. And if you do $25 or more, I will add you to the private podcast feed. So you who's watching, who donated this morning, you'll be added there if you're not already. You'll be getting into my private podcast feed for my book, Liberate Your Business, where I'm reading the audiobook very slowly, but you'll hear the audiobook. And then also after I finish that, the countdown will start 6 months of additional weekly stories, tips, additional ideas from what's in the book. So if you want to, I'm just trying to figure out a way to cross this last $400. So if that's motivating, great. If not, just give because it matters. People with privilege, white folks most especially, this is what reparations looks like. The government's never going to do it. We can't wait for them. This is how we put our money where our mouth is around reparations. This is what it looks like to be in community. Community doesn't have to mean that you know the person. Community doesn't mean the person has to prove anything to you. It just means I'm community. You've said you need help. I'm here to help. You say you're in pain. I'm here to try to alleviate that pain. I've seen or believe somebody else who's telling me there's pain. I'm going to try to do the thing I can do to help. Even if you don't know her and don't care about that, if you've ever learned anything from feminist founders, from me, or if you just want to do something today where you can feel like I did my good deed, my son and I do our DGDs, we call them. So every day we compare our DGDs, which are our daily good deeds. Yeah, you're going to get the audiobook. This is a DGD, right? My son is trying every day thinking of like, can I open a door for someone? Can I compliment someone? What's something I can do that's a daily good deed? I've been doing it too. If you don't do that, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful experience with my child. But can be your DGD, if nothing else, even if there's no other reason, just for you to feel good. Like I did something meaningful today. Help me cross that $400. Help me help her get there. Again, if you're watching this and you can contribute, please do. If you're watching this and you can't contribute or you already have, thank you, Stephanie. I'm so excited you're going to adopt DGDs. I want more people doing the DGDs. I want to hear from people like, what was your DGD? Anyway, if you're watching and you've already contributed, please share this post. If you're later and can contribute, the time's never going to be up. If we go beyond her rent, how amazing would that be? I want this mother to feel cared for, and she doesn't. So whatever we can do to show that is huge. Or if you watch this later and you can't contribute, I also understand some people have already given their mutual aid amounts for the month, or they are also, this economy ain't so great, y'all. I know I'm struggling too. So how much I'm able to give her is less than I would like. But if you can't contribute, then share this, please. Send a note to somebody, ask them to contribute. Help if you can. This is what it looks like. There's no one coming to save us. This is us saving each other in real time. And that's ultimately the message I'm hoping to share here that is aligned with what we talk about at Feminist Founders, what I talk about in my own newsletter, Smashing Patriarchy. Subscribe if you haven't. I've been sharing a lot more about this there, and I will be soon sharing more behind the scenes of my business there if you want to become a paid subscriber. But this is not me advertising. I just want to say that this is where the alignment is with the business, is no one's coming to save us in our businesses, in our lives. Designing the future we want starts right now with every choice we make. We get to design the future we're wanting to create. We're not going to change the systems. I'm still fighting with the district, but I'm not changing that at that district level today or tomorrow or anytime soon. Racism and segregation, especially in education, has been alive and well in St. Louis for hundreds of years. So this is not new, and it's probably not going to change just because I'm pissed off. But what I can do and the change that we can make in our communities or in our businesses or in our lives is to say, where do I have levers that I can pull? Where do I have agency? And right now, what that looks like for me in this moment is making sure this mother knows that she has community and that people care, and that there are white parents who say, you don't have to prove it to me. I don't have to see the video to believe you. Yeah, there's a video. I haven't seen it. I don't have to. Not to mention there's also children who witnessed it and have accounts that align with the child's account. But none of that should matter. What happened wasn't okay. He was forced to resign because it wasn't okay. Regardless of what it was specifically, it wasn't okay. And we should be mad. And this mom should be getting support. I know this is what it looks like in action is we say, what are the things I can do within my own communities, my own business to say, I'm going to make change here. I'm not waiting for the system to change and I'm not waiting for the system to save me because those things aren't going to happen probably in our lifetimes, sadly, or my child's for that matter. But I can show up as a model to my child. I'm not going to cry, but I cannot tell you. My biggest advocate in all of this has been my child. And I've gone to him and said, I've been told that there might be educators who will hold this against you personally. And he said, Mom, I don't care. You have to do what's right. And I'm proud of you. And you're courageous. And I'm not sharing that to make that about me. I'm sharing it to say what we do matters. And people see it. People see it. So let's do the right thing. And if you can help, great. If you can only share, I don't want to say only. If you share it, that's helping. So if you can't financially support, share this story. The Venmo is at Becky-Edwards-73. Last four of the phone is 5554. Anything that comes in there is going to her. PayPal, Becky@BeckyMollenkamp.com. Anything that you send there, you can put in a note, mutual aid. That helps me know, but I will know anyway. If you send me more than $25, I'm going to add you to that private podcast feed where you're going to get 6 months of additional support around what I shared in Liberate Your Business. You're going to get the audio version of the book, so you'll get to hear the book. You don't even have to buy the book. You'll get that plus the support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I hope the audio worked this time. And I just need to feel like I'm contributing. And this makes me feel like I'm doing something today. So what is the something you can do? Maybe in your world, it doesn't look like this and it looks like something else. And that's also okay. I mean, selfishly, I want it to be this because I want to get that last $400 and help this mom in that way. But if you're doing something else in your own community to fight today and to build the world you're wanting us to have, great. If you're not, I would just challenge yourself, whether it's this or something else, say, what is one concrete thing I can do today to begin creating the world I want to see instead of waiting for it to happen? Because it's not. We have to do it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right.